Oh, hey. Great gadgets, aren't these? I travel a lot. And when I take my trips on airplanes or even Caltrain, everybody's wearing these earbuds and nobody's talking to one another. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and honored guests, I urge you to put your iPods away because we've stopped communicating. In my travels, one of the things that I find the most fascinating is meeting new people and having conversations. And how can you do that when you're constantly listening to things in your own head or to your own music? I mean, don't get me wrong, it's great to have your own music with you, but do you need to be listening to it 24/7? I recently came back from a trip to Paris. Everybody's wearing their earbuds. And that reminded me of a time where, 10 years ago, I was flying back and forth between the US, between Washington, D.C. and San Francisco. Now, back then, when we didn't want to talk to the person sitting next to us on the plane, we pretended to sleep. Actually, back then, you had a seat between you and the next person, which was a luxury that we don't have any longer. But I took a chance, and I didn't pretend to be asleep one day, and had a 6-hour conversation the length of the flight with the person that sat next to me. Turns out he worked at Silicon Graphics. We actually dated for a period of time. That didn't work out. Interestingly though, years later, he found me on Facebook. And when I posted a very personal video about a medical situation I went through, he was the first person that actually responded to that video, the first person that I hadn't told personally. And I'm thinking, wow, because I randomly talked to this person 10 years ago, I've actually made a connection for life. That was fascinating to me. These little gadgets, even when we're not traveling, we go to a restaurant. Now, I used to take my books, and now it's easy to take out the iPhone and check Facebook and check email and text message, all so that we don't have to talk to other people in the restaurant. Now, because I travel a lot, sometimes I get stuck going out by myself, and it's just amazingly boring sitting in your hotel room ordering room service again. So I started going downstairs to the restaurants and the hotel, or sometimes even venturing out. And I end up sitting at the bar, which is an amazing place to talk to people. Now I could be heads down with my little phone, but I'll give you an example of what happens when you don't do that. I was in Barcelona, and in Barcelona, they're bilingual, Spanish and Catalan. I speak English and German. My phone didn't work in Barcelona. It wasn't on the right network. There I was at a tapas place, and there's usually one waiter that speaks English. But in a tapas restaurant, it's not necessary because they have all of the different menu items out there under a glass, and you just point. It's very easy. All of a sudden, this guy sits down next to me. We figured out that we don't speak the same languages. He takes out his passport, points to his name. His name is Jose. He grabs the one English waiter over and decides to get him to translate between us. Of course, Jose is talking about 2 minutes at a time. The waiter comes back with half a sentence. I know there was more there somewhere. And I just continued to answer him. And after I left the tapas place, we were walking along. He grabs my hand and drags me to another place and buys me a glass of wine. I'm thinking, okay. I felt a little uncomfortable after that. And as we went out to La Rambla, I decided, okay, this is a little too much. He's grabbing my hand, he's hugging me all the time. So I pointed to the next hotel, which was not mine, and said, I have to go to sleep. Went inside and just stood at the window of the lobby to wait for him to leave. 5 minutes go by, 10 minutes go by, 15 go by, he's still out there. 20 minutes he finally leaves so I could get back out on my way. The next morning, I'm wandering along again, and I'm at the Barcelona harbor taking photographs. And someone else comes up behind me. Again, Spanish, Catalan, English, German. Turns out that this guy named Mark is from Morocco and speaks French. I know this much high school French. I dug out my high school French. And we sat down and talked for a while. He takes the map out of my hand and tells me that he's going to show me Barcelona. He pointed to where we were on the map. He pointed to La Catedral and said, this is where we're going to go. We get there. He just pulls out his newspaper, sits down, says, go take your photos. I took my photos, came back, and then he said, now we're going to go here, and now we're going to go here. I saw places in Barcelona that, looking at the map, I don't think I would have found on my own. I found places that were not on any maps, a railroad station with a roof designed by Gaudi. I got a 6-hour tour of Barcelona. Now, of course, he kept saying, I wish I could tell you more about this. And I kept saying, I wish I could understand. But if I hadn't been open to that conversation, if I hadn't been open to having a conversation in a language that I barely understood, I wouldn't have had that experience. And that was an experience of a lifetime to see all of Barcelona. Now, the next time that you're traveling anywhere and you've got some of these things in your ear, I suggest you take them out and look around. I save these now for the airplane when I have to get work done and the movie's bad. But even coming back from Paris, ran into somebody. We were both not wearing these things. And he shows up from business class, comes to see me in economy, and gives me a glass of wine. I'm not going to say no to that. Ultimately, let's stop getting out of our heads and out of our ear pods and just start being open to communicating with the people around us. Mr. Toastmaster.